Welcome back, everyone. As part of our ongoing coverage of the issues in our community related to the pandemic, we've been really fortunate in being able to check in on a regular basis with Ray Agnew from Glens Falls Hospital, and he's here again today. Hey, Ray, how are you?
I'm great, Jesse. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome anytime, as you know. Hey, a couple of things are hitting the news nationally, and I know if they're national issues, they probably drill right down here to our region and some of the issues and challenges that you're facing over at Glens Falls Hospital. I'm going to start with the main one I want to get to is federal funding and the federal stimulus. As a matter of fact, why don't we start right there?
Okay.
Yesterday, Ray, we recorded the teleconference with Mike Biddle of Adirondack Chamber and our congresswoman and assembly people and senator. And the number one topic was Glens Falls Hospital and the money that Glens Falls Hospital needs, hopefully as part of the next stimulus package, and also addressing the immediate needs that you have to try to offset the hemorrhaging of dollars that you're facing right now. So let's jump right into that. Give me an update on your end, what's going on.
Sure. It's absolutely critical to us. As you know, the stimulus, the CARES Act, came out in a couple of different rounds. This most recent round focused on hotspots, so areas that had 100 or more cases of COVID-19 admitted, and then also on rural hospitals. And unfortunately, Glens Falls Hospital was not able to qualify for either pool of money. Of particular concern to us is that we were not able to qualify for the rural designation because certainly, if you look at our 6,000 square miles in 5 counties, it's it's rural New York. You don't get much more rural than Washington County and Hamilton County, um, Northern Warren, Essex, etc. Um, so it's very concerning to us. This hospital was not a hotspot, thank God. Um, we have treated cases, certainly, but we also were directed to prepare for a surge in patients should that happen. And that those directives, as people know, meant that we shut down all of our revenue producing operations, postponing procedures. We also invested over $5 million in preparation for a potential surge. So losing 50% of your revenue, um, investing $5 million meant some things that were very difficult for us, furloughing over 350 people, and very, very significant losses over the first quarter of this year. And so it's absolutely crucial that we figure out a way to inform our elected officials so that they can craft a formula that is more inclusive than the formulas they were using last time. Because a hospital like Glens Falls just cannot absorb these types of losses and continue to function.
And Ray, I don't know any organization that could absorb those kinds of losses. You know, you roll past something here that just doesn't make any sense. You know, you're talking about not qualifying because we're not a rural-based institution. I mean, considering what you just said about the counties that you serve, how is it possible that you were not considered?
It's because of our location, because we're in Glens Falls, which is considered a micropolitan area of the greater capital district. That's considered an urban area. If we were 5 miles or so north, if the physical location was 5 miles or so north, we would have received that rural designation. That's the fine edge we're talking about there when it comes to this. We are recognized as a rural referral center, meaning we get a lot of rural patients that come in here. But that put us in the same bucket as some really big hospitals like Albany Medical Center is a rural referral center, and Massachusetts General Hospital is a rural referral center. Um, so in the Congresswoman's district, for example, there were just a couple, ourselves and Samaritan Hospital in Watertown, that were considered to be quote urban unquote. And again, if you look at Jefferson and Lewis counties, where Watertown is located, Watertown's in Jefferson County, but serves a broad area also. Those are exceptionally rural areas. It's just this strange designation that kept us from getting the funding. Um, very fortunate to have Congresswoman Stefanik on our side. She is tough. She's going to fight like crazy for this. We had an excellent call with the Department of Health and Human Services that she facilitated. And so if anybody can uh, help us make those changes that will get us the funding we so badly need, it's her.
Yeah, I agree with you. Our viewers, by the way, will be able to watch that teleconference on all our platforms, so you can catch up to this conversation, get more detail. Hey,
Great.
Ray, the number that's being tossed around, big numbers, $100 million. Now, I couldn't tell from the conversation whether that was a national number or a state allocation, but I believe that first round of stimulus was 100 million national.
It was 100 billion national.
Right, right. I'm sorry, billion. Okay.
Yeah.
When
Yep.
you're my age, Ray, millions and billions.
It's all right. Yep. It's okay.
Not to
That B
mention
makes a big
trillions.
difference, though.
So you feel confident that this round of stimulus, should it make it through the House and Senate, it will help you?
Well, I feel confident that the Congresswoman is like a dog on a bone with this, and that she's going to do everything she can to make it happen for us. Yes.
I've got you. Okay. Best of luck with that. I mean, you're the center of the universe to our community, you know. Let's move
Thank
on
you.
to some other things. Another thing that hit national news,
Okay.
and I'm sure it's affecting you as well, is that people, and let's face it, people are scared. You know, they're apprehensive. They don't know a lot. And as a result, they may put off things like elective surgery. You mentioned something before about losing 50% of your income. I would imagine that a lot of that, or some of that, would come from elective surgery and procedures. And
Absolutely.
if that's the case, what's your experience so far, and what would you say to people about this?
Well, as you know, last week we were able to start offering outpatient elective procedures and surgeries again, and we put in place a three-part proactive COVID-19 safety plan, and we're trying to push that information out as broadly as we can. Um, we need to prevent, and we have several measures in place for that. We need to detect and treat when necessary, and we have a bunch of measures in place for that. And then we need to provide support to the community and to our staff so that we can keep everybody safe. Um, it's tremendously important also to remember that the emergency room is a safe place to come. If you're having chest pain, if you are having symptoms of a TIA or a stroke, you need to come to the emergency room. We have segregated the areas where we test and treat COVID-19 patients. We've also segregated them uh, on the inpatient side, so that if there's a complication during one of these elective procedures and you wind up having to spend a night in the hospital, we have a wing that is separate and has never had a sick patient in it, completely sterilized. So people can be confident that it's safe to come in. And the bottom line is that definitely with emergencies, but a lot of these procedures that were postponed, they may not have been emergent, but it's urgent for a person's long-term good health that they have these procedures done. And so we want to, encourage them and assure them that um, they can come in and have a successful procedure with their physician, and that they'll be safe. And we're getting great support from the physician community and our other providers, clinicians around the region, helping people understand that now is the time to come back. Because the other thing, unfortunately, and I don't mean to throw cold water on the fact that we are open for doing these types of procedures again, but depending on what happens with this crazy disease, the valve could be shut off again, and we would perhaps not be able to perform them again. So now that we are encouraging people to take advantage of it.
Oh, I think that's great advice. You know, Ray and I have been talking, my God, for months now, and I can tell you that Ray and his team leave no stone unturned when it comes to the safety issue, and I've seen it firsthand. Um, I was thinking people with diabetes. There's so many reasons that people need to engage you and might not because they're just scared or they don't know if they'll be safe, right? So I think that
Right.
point's well taken. Hey, one last thing I want to check on. Any change in the number of COVID patients or any good news to share about maybe?
Sure. Actually, there's some great news to share. So the number of COVID patients has come down in the hospital. At the height of our exposure up here in the North Country, we had 12 patients in the hospital at any one time. We're down to 5 positive cases in the hospital right now. And today we had a really special celebration. Um, a gentleman, William Burns, had been in the hospital for 44 days, 42 of those days in intensive care, and most of those 42 days on a ventilator. Um, Today, he was able to be discharged and he's going into a subacute rehabilitation facility. His entire family was here. His entire family, by the way, are remarkable people. He wasn't the only one that was sick. His wife also was diagnosed with COVID-19, and his son was diagnosed with COVID-19, both of whom recovered and were able to be there today. They're a remarkable group of people, and I believe strongly that it wasn't just the amazing medical skill and talent of our team, although that made a huge difference. And the family was sure to thank everybody. But their support, I've got to believe he felt it. They're a remarkable group of people. And the Glens Falls Hospital team, the staff turned out in droves to applaud and um, send him on his way. So that, those kinds of happy endings, people need to know that there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of tragedy, of course, but there's an awful lot of happy endings too.
That's amazing. I think that's fabulous news, by the way. You just touched on something I want to kind of close with, I guess, which is that, as human beings, you're hearing more and more now that, all the medical procedures, of course, are paramount to someone's recovery, but the emotional side of this, the psychological side of this, and how many stories, and I know this is true, especially the day that your healthcare workers were honored and people were beeping and driving by. You guys become the extended family. And how many stories are there, Ray, where people are, who are healthcare workers and providers are becoming the extended family for so many people, who are suffering from this. It's amazing stuff, Ray. All right, well, look, we'll be checking back with you. I want to make certain after this funding stuff gets talked about and pushed around and politicized and whatever else is going to happen to it, that you actually get the funding. And we'll be checking in as we have and get regular updates, okay? In the meantime, stay safe, my friend.
You do the same.
Okay, take care.